Hello, and welcome to the Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper reading. Today, we're going to analyze various important issues appearing in New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 22nd June 2019. The news to be covered are given on the screen, and corresponding timestamps can be found in description as well as comment section below. Now, let us begin with our today's discussion. So here we have an article appearing on page number 10 titled Why South Asia Must Cooperate. This article talks about various sustainable development goals which are universal, inclusive as well as integrated in nature. And at the same time, in order to effectively achieve these goals, various countries of South Asia need to come together and they need to have some sort of agreement and understanding with each other. In this context, let us first see what all countries are included in this region. They are Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, as well as Maldives. So these 8 countries are included in South Asia. This topic becomes important for us from the perspective of General Studies Paper 2 under International Relations, and topics are India and its neighborhood, bilateral regional global groupings, as well as important international institutions and mandate. In this backdrop, now let us start a discussion in which we would be touching upon various important dimensions. In this backdrop, let's start a discussion. Well, South Asia, where on one hand covers 3.5% of the world's land surface, on the other hand is a home to 25% of the world's population. This points out towards high population density of the region. At the same time, this region is one of the world's least integrated region, both economically as well as socially. The lack of integration can be seen in following figures. The intra-regional trade, that is, the trade which these countries do with each other, accounts to only 5% of the trade they do globally, that is, with the countries outside this region. Secondly, the intra-regional investment, that is, the investment which the countries do in each other, is again 1% of the investment which they do globally. Thirdly, South Asia's average GDP per capita is only 9.6% of global average. Now, these facts point out towards the fact that it is one of the least integrated region in the world. Now, in order to enhance our clarity, let's talk about Sustainable Development Goals which were adopted in the year 2015 and built on the success of Millennium Development Goals. Well, these goals are 17 in number and they are more holistic as well as multidimensional as compared to Millennium Development Goals. Well, their main focus is on eradication of poverty in all forms. Other than that, they also focus on well being, education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, innovation, reduced inequalities, sustainable development in cities as well as communities, responsible consumption and production, climate change, life below as well as above water, peace, justice, and strong institutions. And last, but the most important one is partnerships for the goals. Well, this include various partnerships among countries as well as institutions which can help in effective implementation and achievement of these goals. What needs to be appreciated in these goals is various dimensions such as social, economic, environmental, as well as political, which they cover. It is the SDG Index of 2018, which is an assessment of various countries' progress towards achieving of sustainable development goals. On the basis of this, the author has highlighted various goals which have been achieved by South Asian countries as well as where these countries lack. So now we would be focusing on these dimensions and later we would see various deficiencies which need to be addressed and how can they be effectively addressed. Well, the author points out that various big economies of South Asia, which are India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, they have some similarities with respect to achieving some goals and at the same time exhibiting bad performance in some goals. Now we would have a closer look. Like in case of India, the goal 1, that is poverty, goal 6 is relating to clean water and sanitation, goal 12 that relates to responsible consumption and production, Goal 13 that relates to climate action, and Goal 16 which relates to peace, justice and strong institutions. India have been performing well on these parameters, whereas when it comes to Goal 2, which relates to zero hunger, Goal 5, which relates to gender equality, and Goal 9, which relates to industry, innovation, and infrastructure, India has not fared that well. Similarly, in the case of Bangladesh, we also see it is doing well in the goal 1, 6, 12, and 13, which is same as in case of India, and the same has been observed in the case of Pakistan as well. Whereas when it comes to goal 2, 9, and goal 7, most of the economies are not able to do well in these goals. Let's see which these goals are. Goal 2, which relates to zero hunger. Goal 9, again, it is related to industry, innovation, and infrastructure, that is economic dimension. And goal 7, that is affordable and clean energy. So now these are some of the goals which need adequate attentions in order to their proper achievement by these countries. It is in this backdrop that SDGs provide an enormous opportunity for cooperation, collaboration and convergence. Now, a regional strategic approach to tackle some of the common development challenges can bring enormous benefits to the entire region. For example, various SDGs which relate to energy, for example SDG 7, biodiversity, for example SDG 14, 15, infrastructure, for example SDG 9, can be tackled with policy harmonization as they are transnational in nature. It is through this policy harmonization route we can tackle these common challenges effectively in the region. A very good example can be cooperation with Bangladesh in order to improve infrastructure and economy in Northeast India. As we can see, if we have to reach Northeast India, we have to go through this chicken neck, and it is a very long distance which we have to cover. Whereas if we have to go to Northeast India via Bangladesh, the distance is quite short. As well as we have projects like Kaladan multimodal projects which use this waterway also to reach Northeast. So this can provide Northeast with good infrastructure as well as clean energy. And hence, in this way, cooperation with Bangladesh can help in proper achievement of various SDGs. Well, the way out is various regional initiatives such as BEAMSTEC, BBIN, as well as SARC can be utilized effectively in order to enhance mutual trust, which would further lead to improved synergies. Now, let's talk in brief about these initiatives also. BEAMSTEC stands for Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral, Technical and Economic Cooperation. It was recently that our Prime Minister invited various member countries from BEAMSTEC in his swearing in ceremony. This shows India's tilt towards BEAMSTEC, which includes various countries of South Asia, which are Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka. However, organizations such as SARC, which was founded way back in 1985, is lying redundant. It is only with the revival of the SARC, the mutual cooperation among various South Asian countries, as all the South Asian countries are part of this organization, can be revived. Moreover, other initiatives like BBIN, which stands for Bhutan, Bangladesh, India, Nepal initiative, can also lead to improved trust as well as confidence in these countries. Hence, it is through this improved coordination among various countries from South Asia that we can expect sustainable development goals can be achieved effectively, which would be a win-win situation for all the countries of the region. So here we have an article appearing on page number 9 titled Jumbo Yatra comes in for flak. This article talks about transportation of a few juvenile elephants from Assam to Gujarat by a train. This topic is important from your preliminary exam point of view under environmental ecology and under GS paper 3 of mains under conservation. The Asian elephant, which has its scientific name Elephas maximus, is protected under Schedule 1 of Indian Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Moreover, it has also been categorized under the category of endangered species by Red List prepared by IUCN. Well, The articles talk about Assam government's decision to transport 4 juvenile elephants in railway wagons to Ahmedabad in order to participate in an annual Rath Yatra festival. Now, in our discussion, what we would be focusing on is various norms which have been violated. These norms are associated with Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So we shall be focusing on various sections that are relevant for us for this discussion. Now, let us see what various sections of Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 have to say in this regards. The very first section is Section 9, which directly prohibit any hunting of animal included in the Schedule 1, 2, 3, 4 of the particular act. Well, various animals put under these schedules are protected. Next, we'll have a look at Section 11 of the Act. Well, it provides for various concessions regarding hunting in certain cases. Various cases are if it becomes dangerous to human life, disabled or deceased. Secondly, in case it is hunted in defense of oneself, it is justified. However, other such cases have been provided under Section 12, which says it is allowed under following circumstances. They are education, scientific research and management, sending them to a suitable habitat, management of population like transferring them from one protected area to another, collection of specimen for zoos and museums, collection of venom in order to produce life-saving drugs, etc. Well, in all the exceptions which are given under section 11 as well as 12, nowhere is it mentioned that a protected animal can be transported from one place to another in order to participate in fair or any religious festival. Moreover, what has to be kept in mind is prevailing heat wave in North India, which would be detrimental to the health of animal. It was in this regard only a PIL was recently filed in Guwahati High Court, and now it is for the court to decide if it was justified on the end of the government or not. Hence, this news is in transition, and only when the Guwahati High Court comes up with some decision on this, we would be tracking it again. Here we have a news item appearing on page number 9 titled Only 1 in 4 received PM-KISAN money. So this topic is important for your mains under General Studies paper 3, and the topics are agriculture and issues related to direct as well as indirect farm subsidies. PM-KISAN refers to Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. It is a scheme which was made operational on 1st December 2018 and is a fully funded by Government of India central sector scheme. Well, under the scheme, an income support of 6,000 per year was to be given to all eligible farmers and their families in 3 equal installments. That is, an amount of 2,000 was to be given every 4 months. Now, coming to the next point, it was only to be extended to those farmers who had a total land holding of less than 2 hectares. However, now it has been extended to all land holding farmers. This is a major change which has been made into the scheme, whereas various exclusion categories won't be getting any benefit under the scheme. Later, we would be seeing who all is included in these exclusion categories. Lastly, this scheme has component of DBT, that is direct benefit transfer. It is through this that various benefits would be given to the farmers directly into their bank accounts. Hence, there is no scope of corruption or misappropriation of funds. Now, let's focus on the categories who belong to higher economic status and hence won't be covered under the scheme. This has been called the exclusion criteria. Various categories are all institutional landholders, any holder of a constitutional post, various public representatives, which can include any minister, member of Lok Sabha, mayors of municipal corporations, chairperson of district panchayats, to name a few, any serving or retired government official, or anybody working with PSCs, that is public sector enterprise. However, anybody who is working at the level of Group D or Class 4 is not a part of this exclusion criteria and hence would be given benefit under the scheme. Moreover, any retired pensioner who withdraws a pension more than 10,000 won't be included in this. At the same time, anybody who has paid income tax in the last year won't be included. And lastly, various professionals like doctors, engineers, lawyers, CAs, architects who are registered with the professional bodies and are carrying out the profession by undertaking practices would also not be included under the scheme. Hence, all this comprise the exclusion criteria which has been prescribed in the scheme. Hence, anybody who has land holding even more than 2 hectares and doesn't fall in this exclusion criteria would be getting the benefit under the scheme. Moreover, with this expansion of the coverage, now the total number of beneficiaries under the scheme stands at 14.5 crore. Here we have a question which was asked in the year 2016 in preliminary examination. Here also, the question is based on a scheme which was targeting farmers. It reads, with reference to the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, consider the following statements. First statement reads, under the scheme, farmers will have to pay a uniform premium of 2% for any crop they cultivate in any season of the year, which is totally wrong as the premium is different for Rabi, Kharif and horticultural crops. The second statement reads, the scheme covers post-harvest losses arising out of cyclones and unseasonal rains, which is correct. Hence, the correct statement is B, that is 2 only. As we have already discussed various dimensions of PM-KISAN, these dimensions becomes very important from your exam point of view as they can be put under various statements and a question can be framed in preliminary examination. Here we have the lead article appearing on page number 10 which reads, Smart Diplomacy in 5 Moves. Well, this article talks about various geopolitical scenarios and how India needs to tweak its foreign policy accordingly. This topic is important for international relations from the perspective of General Studies Paper 2 Mains Examination. Firstly, let us understand the basic background. In the present geopolitical scenario, there are 2 elements which we need to understand carefully. The first one is unbalanced multipolarity. Well, under this, various powers such as USA, Russia, China and India are present in Asia. Whereas at the same time, all these powers don't have same capabilities. That is, there is an unbalanced multipolarity. The second element is of power transition, whereby China is going to emerge as a major power in Asia, countering the dominance of USA, which it has had for a long time. This also includes the act of China to balance various powers in their regions. For example, India in South Asia, Russia in Central Asia, and Japan in East Asia. Hence, China is going to counter USA as well as Japan, India, and Russia. Both power transition as well as unbalanced multipolarity indicate a radical transformation in the region, which may lead to destabilizing the region. Hence, what India has to do is India has to achieve its national interests. At the same time, it has to make sure that these geopolitical tensions do not affect it adversely. In these circumstances, what India can do is geopolitical balancing. And this whole article is about this geopolitical balancing, which has to be accomplished in various layers. And we shall be discussing various dimensions associated with this. The very first dimension involved here is India's relationship with China as well as USA. What author here is highlighting is that India has to manage its strategic relationship with USA in such a way that it doesn't provoke China, because increased proximity to USA can provoke China against India both in maritime as well as continental domain. China's Belt and Road Initiative is the best example of this thing. Now, let's talk about the second layer or dimension. Well, it relates to the India's policy with West Asia. When it comes to West Asia, the most important thing is oil, that is energy security, which is India's national interest. Hence, when it comes to West Asia, India has to secure national interest in the form of energy security primarily. Moreover, under the pressure of US, it should not completely alienate Iran, because it is not just for the energy security but also for access to Central Asia as well as Afghanistan. As we know, India doesn't have a corridor through Pakistan which reaches Afghanistan. Hence, we need the support of Iran in order to reach Afghanistan as well as Central Asia. Hence, Iran is going to be a very important regional player for India in order to achieve its various national interests as well as secure its position in the region. At the same time, India's policy with both Israel as well as Saudi Arabia is working well. Hence, the main balancing factor here would be Iran and the threat of various sanctions which has been imposed by USA. The third dimension here is relation between Russia and China. Well, what India can do is India can exploit various fissures or weaknesses that are there in the Russia-China relationship in order to counter the dominance of China in the region. Well, at the same time, another important concern for India is growing proximity between Pakistan and Russia. Hence, there is a threat of Moscow-Beijing-Islamabad axis which is gaining strength, and this process need to be halted by India. The fourth dimension here is increasing proximity between China and Pakistan. Well, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor that connects Gwadar with Xinjiang province of China is a big concern for India. Not only that it passes through Pakistan occupied Kashmir, but the other threat is that various installations which will be built under this corridor can also be used against the interest of India. Moreover, India needs to work with China in order to counter the growing influence of Pakistan. Capacity building measures with Afghanistan can also be done in order to keep Pakistan's growing influence in check. Fifth and the final balancing act here is to stabilize the Afghan government. Well, in order to stabilize the Afghan government, India has to make sure that Afghan government does not have any threat from Taliban. Well, at the same time, it has to make sure that Pakistan does not control Taliban and create problems in Afghanistan. Moreover, this can be achieved effectively through engagement with Russia, China, and USA. India, in the recent past, maintained Pakistan should be isolated worldwide on various platforms. Hence, India should continue with this policy in order to maintain the regional stability. All these are the 5 geopolitical balancing acts which India need to adopt in its foreign policy in order to counter various geopolitical challenges which are emerging in the region as well as throughout the globe. So here we have a news item which appears on page number 9 and reads SC, that is Supreme Court, halts road work through tiger reserves. Well, this article is important for your prelims exam under environmental ecology as well as your mains examination general studies paper 3 under environment and conservation. Now let us start with the basic background of the news item. Here we have a map of Uttarakhand and we have 2 tiger reserves. One is Rajaji and the other one is Jim Corbett. Well, there is a corridor which connects to national parks. And recently there has been a construction of the road which passes through this corridor. It is in this context Supreme Court intervened and asked to halt the process of construction of this road which passes through the corridor. Now, in this backdrop, we shall be looking at various dimensions associated with the issue. It was found out that advice of NTCA, that is National Tiger Conservation Authority, or the permission from the Standing Committee of National Board of Wildlife was not taken before going ahead with the construction of this road. Now, let's have a look at NTCA as well as National Board for Wildlife. Well, National Board of Wildlife is a statutory body established under Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. It is the apex body that handles all wildlife related matters and approve projects in various protected areas. Thirdly, any change of the boundaries of a protected area requires its approval. Its chairman is Prime Minister of India and Vice Chairman is Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Now, let's talk about National Tiger Conservation Authority. Well, it's a statutory body constituted under Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Well, the act was amended in the year 2006 for strengthening the tiger conservation in India. Various objectives of NTCA are providing statutory authority to Project Tiger, which works towards conservation of tigers in India. Next is fostering accountability of center state management of tiger reserves by providing a basis of MOU with states within federal structure. Next is addressing various livelihood interests of local people who are residing around tiger reserves. Well, one thing which is most important here is the chairman of NTCA is Minister of Environment, and presently Dr. Harshvardhan is holding this position. Next we have an editorial which appears on page number 10 titled A Stable Planet. Well, it talks about World's Population Prospects Report 2019, which has been prepared by United Nations. The topic is important from General Studies paper 1 under Salient Features of Indian Society, as well as General Studies paper 2 under Issues Relating to Development, as well as Issues Relating to Poverty and Hunger. Well, this issue have been covered comprehensively in the Daily News Simplified dated 19 June 2019, and hence you can refer to this DNS in order to cover this issue comprehensively. Here's a news item regarding Kaleshwaram project. It appears on page number 1 as well as page number 8. Now, this topic is very important from your General Studies paper 3 mains point of view under topic different types of irrigation and irrigation system storage. Well, this topic has been covered comprehensively in the DNS dated 21st June 2019. Hence, this DNS can be referred in order to cover this topic. So here you have various questions which appear on your screen and are for your practice for prelims exam. Now, we shall take a pause of 5 seconds and then come to the answers of these questions. The first question is regarding Sustainable Development Goals, and the statements are: first is they cover social and economic dimensions only, which is wrong as they are multidimensional, and other than social and economic, they also cover environmental and political dimensions. The second statement is they have recently been adopted in 2018. Again, this is wrong as they were adopted in the year 2015. Hence, the correct answer is D, that is neither 1 nor 2. The next question is regarding PM-KISAN scheme, which we have discussed. The first statement reads, it provides for an income support of 10,000 rupee per year, which is wrong as the income support to be provided is of rupee 6,000, which would be provided in 3 installments. The next statement reads, it is applicable only to farmers with land holdings up to 2 hectares, which is again wrong as we have discussed. This clause has been removed and now all land holding farmers are eligible to take benefits of the scheme. However, they should not be included in that exclusion criteria which we have discussed. Hence, the answer is neither 1 nor 2. The third question is about BIMSTEC and it reads, which of the following country is not a part of BIMSTEC? So as we have discussed, various countries which are part of BIMSTEC are Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka and Thailand. So Thailand and Myanmar are the part and Vietnam is not a part. Hence, the correct option would be B, that is 2 only. The last question reads, consider the following statements regarding NTCA, that is National Tiger Conservation Authority. The first statement is, it is a statutory body, which is true. It is a statutory body under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. The second statement reads, the chairman of this NTCA is Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, which is correct. Hence, C is the right answer, that is both 1 and 2 statements are correct. With this, we come to an end of today's discussion. Let's move to the question of the day.